2023 has come and gone, and at the expense of sounding somewhat trite, I can't help but say that 2023 was a great year for games. This was an incredible year for the interactive medium, even for someone such as myself with my relatively limited tastes. This year brought us so many instantly beloved experiences and adventures through worlds both new and old. At the beginning of this new year, it is a more fitting time than ever to commemorate a new tradition by sharing my 10 favorite games from last year. As someone who primarily plays Nintendo Switch, I have to say that this was a spectacular year for the console, even as it seems that it is nearing the end of its life cycle, and I enjoyed many games on the console this year. So, here are my top 10 games of 2023. In 2023, FZero came back. And it may have come back in a form that no one expected at all, but it came back after an absence of almost 20 years. I have little to no love for battle royales or online experiences in general. I'm certainly more of a single-player guy. But I must admit that this game surprised me, and it surprised me enough to make it into my top 10 games of 2023. I enjoyed FZero 99. I didn't really expect it. I believe that it is the best of the Battle Royale games that Nintendo has released, and I think that the format is especially fitting for FZero. There's simply something so satisfying about the sense of speed combined with the chaos of collisions, both of which were present in the past games, but here are dialed up to 11, or rather 99 to be more precise. For many years, FZero has been absent because Nintendo claimed they couldn't think of a way to evolve the series. It seemed all along that a battle royale was apparently the answer. Not the evolution anyone really imagined, but it works. The format works so well with FZero and complements its strengths, all while preserving the atmosphere and art style of the very first game, with mechanics from F-Zero X and mechanics of its own. This adds up to a great mixture of mostly skill and a little bit of luck. On top of all this, the game has seen a somewhat substantial stream of support, and hopefully in 2024, it will get the Tetris 99 treatment with paid DLC in a physical release, but we'll see. Once again, I'm as surprised as you may be that this game made it onto my list. But F-Zero 99 is just one of those games you can boot up from time to time to have a bit of fun. Though in this case, the fun frequently involves blowing up, at least for me. Yeah, did I mention that battle royales really aren't my thing? Next on my list is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did not actually release in 2023. In fact, it was actually released a million years ago, or rather 6 years ago to be precise. And in addition, in this year, 2024, the original Mario Kart 8 celebrates its 10th anniversary. Yes, we've been playing the same Mario Kart game for 10 years. But I certainly have to say that Mario Kart 8 feels as good as ever to control. And last year was the year that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe finally felt worthy of being deemed truly deluxe. With the Booster Course Pass concluding last year, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has now doubled in size with 98 tracks, the largest Mario Kart game to date. It is mind-blowing how massive this game is now. Though half of the tracks that make up the Booster Course Pass do not live up to the standards set by the base game tracks in terms of imaginative layouts and gorgeous graphics that the original game was known for. Nevertheless, the game and the DLC serve as a celebration of the series. Mario Kart is a series that is so popular for a reason, and Mario Kart 8 is a game that is so popular for a reason. It is simply fun and satisfying to control, offering an experience with an excellent mixture of accessibility and depth, luck and skill. And there is much simple, satisfying Mario Kart fun to be had in this enormous game. The sheer size of this game is so astounding. In addition, I want to say it again, it's completely mind-blowing that we have been playing the same Mario Kart game for a decade. I don't mind it too much because of the quality of Mario Kart 8 and just how smoothly the game controls. But yeah, it has been a long time since a brand new mainline Mario Kart game. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the biggest and best game in the entire series, with the most courses and the smoothest controls. At 10 years after its release, the game is finally complete. And at number 8 on my list, it is Sonic Origins Plus. Alright, this is another technicality. As, yes, I understand, Sonic Origins came out in 2022, but Sonic Origins Plus did come out in 2023. And yeah, it's a technicality, and yeah, this game has seen its controversies. Honestly, which modern Sonic game hasn't seen controversy? I understand that the collection is lackluster, and I understand that the additions to the physical edition are likewise lackluster, and are not even included on the cartridge to boot. And I understand that it is saturated with Sega doing silly Sega stuff, and I understand that the fans found this collection disappointing in more ways than one. I understand all of that. But, I still enjoyed Sonic Origins Plus. I have never been that much of a Sonic fan, but last year I was finally able to understand Sonic. I was finally able to understand what makes Sonic so enjoyable. And this collection was a major part of that. I now know what makes Sonic such a special series, what people adore so much about the classic games. I finally understand how the speed of Sonic informs the level design, and how the precise platforming balances the thrilling sense of momentum. I was excited when this game was initially announced, and I was excited to finally play it as well. It may not have turned out how it should have, but I still enjoyed Sonic Origins Plus as my introduction to classic Sonic. I am just so happy that I finally understand the Sonic series. I get Sonic now. I just get it. And I'm so happy that I finally do. But I still have to understand the chaotic and confusing mess that is the series and its fan base as a whole. Yeah, it's Sonic. Kirby's Return to Dreamland is a special game for me. It's the game that made me a Kirby fan. The game that made me fall in love with the pink puffball. And so you can imagine my delight when HAL put together a remake of the game. The game really didn't need a remake, but they did it anyway. And let me tell you, it's good. It's really good. I mean, it's Return to Dreamland. How could it not be good? In Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, the visuals are distinctive and beautiful, and the game adds so much more content than it even needed to. For the first time in the series, a remake has added abilities. 2 new abilities, Mecha and Sand, which are 2 of the coolest and most fun copy abilities ever. A side mode with a ton of minigames from across the series. And the cherry on top of the sweet strawberry shortcake, not stolen by King Dedede, by the way, is the post-game Magolor epilogue, which is, frankly, incredible. It's all about creating combos with Magolor's varied moveset, which becomes stronger and stronger as you upgrade it. It is a short and sweet blast, and is a really unique experience in a Kirby game, because it doesn't really feel like a Kirby game. Overall, Return to Dreamland Deluxe is a phenomenal remake, and I have had a ton of fun playing it both on my own and with the other authors of Kiro Tarakai. And I have to apologize to them for having us play way too much of it when I first got it. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was still fun. Anyway, I'm just glad that there is finally a good 2D Kirby game on Switch. Star Allies. And moving on, one of my favorite games last year was actually 2 games from 20 years ago. Nintendo suddenly had a huge thing for shadow drops last year. Particularly shadow drops of GameCube games for some reason. And one of the most surprising and exciting for me was Pikmin 1+2. Oh. Yes! Yes! They're shadow dropping Pikmin 1 and 2. Yeah, I was pretty excited. These two are nothing that special. They're pretty straightforward ports, but they are the first Pikmin games. Two of my favorite games of all time. They look a bit better and control a bit better, all while still being the great games that they are. They're Pikmin! Pikmin! And I love Pikmin. Last year, I did my first deathless runs of these two games within these ports, and it increased my already sizable admiration and adoration for these masterpieces. It is a joy to have these games on a hybrid console for the first time ever, making them so accessible, and also meaning that the entire Pikmin series is on Switch. All of its games. Hey Pikmin does not count. It never has. It never will. And onward to number 5 on my list. I love me some good old Mario RPGs, and few are as special and significant as the original Super Mario RPG. I am more of a Paper Mario and Mario & Luigi guy myself, but I still certainly adore and appreciate the game that started it all on the SNES. And I was overjoyed to see it receive a remake on the Switch. It is a perfect marriage of the golden age of Mario and the golden age of Square Enix, in a game with a unique and memorable cast of characters. Super Mario RPG is extremely faithful to this legacy. In fact, it is one of the most faithful remakes I've ever played, hands down, preserving what made the game so memorable in the first place. It expands upon the pre-rendered isometric art style in a way true to the classic game, while creating a new beauty of its own. There are a few additions to the game that don't entirely fit into it, but there are others that are certainly welcome, such as the addition of post-game battles, which, might I add, are some of the most challenging battles in any Mario RPG. But even without these features, Super Mario RPG has stood the test of time very well. I love the original game, and I love this remake even more. Super Mario RPG, just like every other Mario game in the genre, is, at its core, a very simple RPG. But that is what makes it so special. Just like the Super Mario series in general, Mario RPGs are approachable and charming. Playing the remake was certainly not the first time I played this classic, and it will certainly not be the last. Though, in the future, I will most likely continue to play this version rather than the original. Super Mario RPG is one of the best games of last year, and one of the best and most faithful remakes of all time. But, both in the original and in the remake, I can never seem to pull off that 100 jump challenge. It's difficult, man. And next on my list is a masterpiece. Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime is a masterpiece. I played it for the first time ever last year, and I can say with confidence that it is one of the richest and most immersive Metroidvanias ever created. An atmospheric first-person shooter unlike any other, and a true masterpiece. Metroid Prime Remastered is technically on this list of my favorite games of 2023, though I did not actually play the remaster that much at all. Most of my experience with the game last year was in the Metroid Prime Trilogy re-release on the Wii. I love those pointer controls. They are surprisingly enjoyable and intuitive for first-person shooters. Also, if you did not heed any of the warnings I wrote about on our Random Ramblings blog about buying Metroid Prime Trilogy for dirt cheap before the Wii U eShop shut down last year, that is your own fault. It's your own fault. You should have done it. I'm sorry. Moving on. Anyway, Metroid Prime is, in any of its forms, a revolutionary game. A game that I personally think is the very best transition of a series from 2D to 3D. I love Super Metroid, and Metroid Prime captures the same feeling of isolation and atmospheric exploration with the depth of detail that the third dimension allows. And to top it all off, Metroid Prime looks absolutely incredible for its time and its technology. Those wizards at Retro Studios created one of the best-looking GameCube games in 2002, one of the best-looking Wii games in 2009, and now, one of the best-looking Switch games in 2023. Metroid Prime was a masterpiece then, and it is a masterpiece now. And now, for number 3. Last year saw so many long waits finally come to an end. One of the longest waits of them all was the wait for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Though we didn't actually know about the game until June, we have waited a long time for Wonder. Not only have we waited 11 years for a brand new side-scrolling Mario title, but we have waited almost 2 decades for 2D Mario to return to the originality and bravery it was once known for. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is bizarre, bold, and beautiful in the best ways. A new Super Mario Bros. Game that truly feels new. Platforming feels far more fluid than the new Super Mario Bros. Series because of the snappier stopping speed. But what makes Wonder truly shine is the level design and how the levels incorporate the game's central mechanic. On top of the levels featuring simply enjoyable and creative mechanics, each level features a Wonder Flower, which changes up the level in utterly unpredictable ways. Pipes could start moving, you could begin walking on walls, a stampede of bulrushes could come zooming through, piranha plants could start singing, or a host of many more wonderful things could happen. In addition to this unpredictability, there is a degree of customization in the game through its badges, which can completely change the way you play the game, giving you new moves, helping you out in tough situations, or even making you invisible. Super Mario Bros. Wonder keeps you on your toes with its creativity, customization, and overall delightful mechanics. And to top it all off, the gameplay is complemented by a gorgeous art style and marvelous music. The art style especially sets the game apart. Gone are the days of the stiff Mario made out of plastic that we saw in the new Super Mario Bros. Series. Mario moves naturally and acts so expressively. The game's animations are on another level. I will always have a soft spot for the new Super Mario Bros. Games. But Super Mario Bros. Wonder is so much more, in so many ways. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the side-scrolling Mario we have needed for so long. A game that is worthy to be called a successor to Super Mario World. A game that truly upholds the legacy of Super Mario creativity and care. And now it's time for number 2. A game that is most certainly on essentially every game of the year list. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Oh, Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom. Where to even start with this game? It is absurd that twice in a row, Nintendo has revolutionized and redefined open-world gameplay. Breath of the Wild was such an enormous world with so much player freedom, and so it is positively mind-blowing that Tears of the Kingdom has an even more massive world with even more player freedom. Breath of the Wild is all about exploration, while Tears of the Kingdom is all about customization. Traversal is in your hands much more than it was in Breath of the Wild. You can seamlessly travel down from sky to surface to the very bottom of the depths with whatever crazy contraption you can possibly imagine. The gameplay mechanics in Tears of the Kingdom should not work as well as they do. It should not be as seamless as it is, with you being able to stick anything together, ascend up through any surface, and reverse any object through time, especially on hardware as old and as limited as the Switch. How did they do it? How? The Zelda development team never ceases to amaze with every game. It is simply magical. A game that shouldn't work and run as well as it does. It is a marvel in so many senses. Technical, mechanical, and overall just from a design perspective. Of course, Tears of the Kingdom is not without its few flaws and disappointments, particularly in the plot department. And I certainly can see these flaws quite clearly as someone who loves the game so much. When you love a game this much and have spent this much time with it, its flaws are apparent, but also apparent is its greatness. The gloriousness of all the good elements far outshines any blemishes, at least for me. I love every Zelda game, except for Zelda 2, of course. But Tears of the Kingdom is the most fun I have ever had with a Zelda game. Ever! And the most fun I have had with any game in general. Tears of the Kingdom is a marvelous masterpiece, a game that simply shouldn't work, and a game that is just incredibly enjoyable. It is no wonder that it has been on so many lists of the top 10 games of 2023. And in a lot of those lists, it's on the top. But of course, it's not on the top on this list for some reason. And that reason is because there was one game this year that I enjoyed even more than Tears of the Kingdom. One game that was even more delightful and even more magical for me personally. So, what was my game of the year 2023? Before I get to it, I would like to give a shout out to a few technicalities, if you will. These are games that weren't released last year, but rather games that I played for the first time in 2023. First and foremost is Yoku's Island Express, a surprising mix of pinball and Metroidvania that is now my favorite indie game of all time. Seriously, go check it out. Such an underrated gem. I also discovered the delights of Katamari Damacy last year, in addition to all of its weirdness and wonderfulness. I also first subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online, and with it I first played The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages, among many other incredible classic games. The one that delighted me the most was by far Banjo-Kazooie. That game is phenomenal, the quintessential 3D platformer. It is so full of personality and so full of fun, and it deserves all of the praise it has received over the years. Oh, also, I played Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival for the first time last year, but that's not a good game. I just wanted to bring it up. But now, let's move on from the worst game I played last year to what I consider to be the very best game I played in 2023. Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4. I still can't believe that Pikmin 4 is real. It's here. It's real. But despite that, it's still just so surreal that this game that was in development for nearly a decade is out. It's now out. This is a problem, especially in games, with titles being cancelled, delayed, or trapped in the depths of development constantly. But few waits have been quite as painful and confusing, personally for me. When you wait this long and this eagerly for something, it can be crushing if it disappoints you. Did Pikmin 4 disappoint me? Was it worth the long, long wait? It was. It really was. It strikes such a beautiful balance between being enjoyable for veterans, yet accessible for newcomers. It does this while adding so much to the core Pikmin formula that somehow feels perfectly at home. It does this while adding so much to the core Pikmin formula that somehow just feels perfectly at home. A hub, a currency, upgrades, a tower defense mode, and even a dog. None of these elements should work within a Pikmin game. But by some Pikmin-y wizardry, they do. And all of these elements are added on top of the best of what the first 3 games had to offer. The simplicity of Pikmin, the challenge of Pikmin 2, and the beauty of Pikmin 3. In terms of overall content, Pikmin 4 is essentially the same size as all 3 of the previous games combined, and it still manages to be coherent as a whole with its commendable scope and disparate mechanics. It all meshes together so naturally. It is the longest and the largest Pikmin game, and the most mechanically diverse, with so much to do, so much to see, so much to discover. Pikmin 4 is such a carefully crafted game, both as a Pikmin game and as its own experience, and it is one of the best games of all time. It is by no means perfect. No game is. But its flaws, such as its lackluster multiplayer and its slow start, are relatively minor blemishes on a game that otherwise shines brilliantly as the best in its series. For Pikmin 4, the wait, the long wait, was truly worth it in the end. And I am so happy that it is finally here, and that not only did it at long last release, but it released as one of the greatest games of all time. What a game. What a year. Once again, 2023 was a great year for games, and I could appreciate that even with my relatively limited tastes. My taste also shielded me from the unfortunate events in the rest of the games industry. In a year filled with layoffs, Nintendo has continued to be generous to its employees, raising their salaries recently and maintaining one of the highest retention rates both in its country and in the games industry. 2023 was a great year for Nintendo, a great year for its fans, and a great year for games in general. And I cannot wait to see what wonders 2024 holds. So that is a topic for another time. Another video. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Kiro Tarakai, and I shall see you next time. Yeah, so many of the games on this list were remakes and remasters. And going into 2024, my most anticipated game is in fact a remake. My most anticipated game for 2024 is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I'm so excited to play it.